right.
So fun.
Guess we're good to go.
I need to call
Is that a
you.
McGrath shirt you're wearing?
Maybe after the
granddaughter.
meeting, I'll talk with
okay.
you.
Playing ball, that's where I'm going. I'm leaving at
You have a
6:30
few
because they're playing at
minutes.
7.
If it's your granddaughter, we'll let it stay.
This will be
All
the
right,
only time
guys,
I'll
here we
wear
go.
my grass shirt.
We are going to call this meeting to order. We'd like to welcome the media and Sergeant Wright, who will be our first delegation, giving us his quarterly report. I'd like to give a shout out to the high school basketball teams as they're starting their zone tournament tonight for the boys and girls, so good luck to them. And go far. We'd like to make a land acknowledgement. The Town of Cardston acknowledges that we are located on traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory. We have an agenda to adopt. If there are no additions, I'll call for a motion. Councillor Court.
Make a motion we adopt the agenda for the Committee of the Whole for this 4th day of March 2025.
All right, all in favor? Thank you. All right, we have our 5 o'clock delegation. Sergeant Wright, you can come speak to us about what's been going on for the last few months.
I didn't realize I sat right behind the podium there. Was hiding. I appreciate Mayor and Council making time for me this evening. Just with the package that's before you there, just one thing on the cover letter that I didn't address rather, that I wanted to with Council again was just as we creep closer to the G7. We haven't received any additional resource requests again yet at this time. And I highly doubt it's going to impact any type of operations locally. But if council has any questions as we get closer, like how that's affecting local operations, please do reach out. But at this time, we haven't received any resource and requests from this detachment. So just so we're alive and aware to that fact, if other communities perhaps say that it's been a drain on their resources, that we have no requests pending at this time. So with that, just as far as our quarterly updates go under the community priorities, all of our traffic initiatives, objectives, and targets have all met or exceeded already for the year. Again, a lot of that plays into impaired driving, traffic safety, rural patrols for largely just deterrent to crime and whatnot. There's been no requests from the province either. Just on a bit of a sidebar that just with everything going on at the border and the resources getting thrown in on that, just because the rural patrols would typically play into that, but there's been no request to up those. And I think it's because we're already doing 400 or 500 a year. So I don't know, like how much more they would actually want from us as a local detachment, right? So. And with that, the only initiative, I guess, under any of these priorities that I don't think will succeed this year will be the drug interdiction activities. And that's because I think I set it too high, quite honestly. I wanted 200 for the year, and that might have been quite a lofty goal. So I'm going to re-examine that next year and either kind of broaden maybe what that's going to encompass, or maybe speak with all councils, probably come the 4th quarter, just to see if we can maybe zero that number in a little bit more, just so we can make sure that's a success. That being said, we continue to lay charges under the CDSA for drugs and whatnot, throw those at court, and it's been hit and miss as to the successes we've had, but nonetheless, we're certainly alive and aware to the community's, I guess, local drug problems, and yeah, we continue to focus in on that. So you'll see a number of community consultations here that were done in Q3. Again, those are just there for council's own situational awareness, just as to what the local police are doing as far as in the schools or with different community groups and whatnot at any given point in time. This doesn't capture all of them, unfortunately. But if there's something or some group or some school that you're wondering about specifically that we're meeting with, or if we've been in there, like just off the top of my head, I know in the last quarter we've been in every school in the county. We just recently did a lockdown drill up at the high school. There was presentations given at the junior high school and the elementary school. So we're definitely in the local schools here. As far as the staffing levels right now, all positions are filled. We do have 2 members on notice transfers, is what we call them. I had a discussion, you want to call it that, with our staffing and personnel, and they will not move these people until they've got at least 1 position backfilled. So if we do go into the summer, I only expect to be 1 person down. Now, what that new person coming into the community looks like, it could be a brand new recruit at a depot. The last 2 we've gotten have been experienced police officers, which we enjoy because the training period is shorter. So they're only kind of tied at the hip for about 60 days before we can cut them loose, as opposed to a new recruit of 6 months. Oh, but yeah, I don't anticipate that'll affect any of our resources. Typically in the summer, like everyone else, there's people looking for time off, vacation and whatnot, so you're running a bit shorthanded anyway, right? So with that, you see about 4 pages of stats. 2 of them are kind of a year-to-year stat from 2020 to 2024. And then there's just more of the quarterly stats. If you look at the 5-year stats, and just on the last line is kind of what I'm taking note of right now. Overall, the total criminal code files are down about 67%. That's a pretty big win, I think, for the county right now. And that's in all areas, from anything from rural crime to just crime in the town itself, right? So, and of course, we're not by any means are we taking credit for all that. There's a lot of different factors that go into that number. But I think as a community, I think we're headed in the right direction as far as keeping that number stable and down. So, yeah, and that's like from us to BYLAW to community partners to everybody who participates at, even just to, everybody who lives in the community who's just doing simple things like locking their car doors, right? Like it's really starting to keep numbers down. So that's good to see. With that, is there any questions, queries, and comments with the report before you, or anything else?
Well, I just have a comment. As you say, the report gives me a sense of we are indeed moving in the right direction regarding enforcement, regarding crime reduction, drugs arrests, and alcohol arrest. So thank you for all the good work that your detachment is doing for us, and I appreciate the partnership with our peace officer in town, because I think that makes a big difference in the downtown core.
Oh yeah, the community of Cardston is incredibly lucky to have Officer Stanley there as our community police officer. He's definitely the exception. Like having moved around from different communities and dealing with different BYLAW community police officers, we've got it good here right now. So he's doing some good work.
Councilor Burton?
We have kind of all of us as a committee, we're looking at our road use, like some of the stop signs versus yield signs, speed limits, intersections that are hot spots, those kinds of things. So somebody from the town may contact you guys to see, just for your input on, is there anything that you can see? 'Cause we've got a different community members who are like the driver's instructor, things like that. So
Right.
maybe if you just put your minds together, there's anything that you would recommend to us to change.
Perfect.
That's something that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did read Murray's report on that, of all the different kind of hot spots that we're looking at right now and how we can make those areas safer, which kind of is a nice segue, I guess, maybe to the next point that in the next 30 days, I've got to rewrite the annual performance plan. So if council wants to see anything specific for the community of Cardston, target, an initiative, a project, anything like that, any area that you want police to focus in on going forward over the next 12 months, in the next 30 days would be a great time to maybe gather those thoughts and get them to me. Again, personally, I like to work under those 3 larger banners.
Sure.
The traffic safety, crime reduction, and just general community awareness and visibility. And I've always found that any initiative that a community can bring up can typically be folded in under one of those umbrellas. So, yeah, if there is something, I would certainly like to speak with you about it.
something just real quick, and I think it's important if they do that, like if there's a big event like there's gonna be tonight, if they just pop in, the officer just pops in, looks around, people see them. Skating rinks, I see them there once in a while. That's always a good thing because people know you're right there and everything's good.
If the, so when we fold out these pages, and I know council's busy, and I know you get bombarded with paperwork, so you'll see things like number 3, like October 11th, the meeting type is just community connection, topics discussed. It just says RCMP participated in the Cardston Turkey Trot alongside students and staff.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll try to capture a lot of that, as much as we can, but honestly, it's a lot.
I just think if there's big community events going on, if they
Right.
got time, obviously if they're doing something else more important, but.
Yeah, if we don't have anything more important going on, like, it's a good night. I want to go down and watch the basketball
Yeah.
game or the football game, right? Like, that's a good shift as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, but I will certainly make members aware of the fact, right, that, that's a great visibility opportunity for us and a great way to connect with people in the community that we normally wouldn't connect with, right? So.
Anything else, councilors? Mayor? All right, again, thank you, Sergeant Wright, for all you do for our community, safety and everything, and we look forward to hearing you from, again.
Okay, thank you very much, council, I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right.
ECW.
I did forget to mention, Councilors Brown and Granger are with us on Zoom tonight as well. We do have adoption of minutes from our last committee meeting.
I'll do that
Mayor?
for you. Yeah, I move that we adopt the February 4th, 2025 minutes of CCW.
Councilor Burton?
So in there, it has a description of a question that I asked, and I don't think it's a correct description, but
okay.
whatever I did ask was satisfied, so I don't know that we need to change it, but I don't
Okay.
think it describes what I asked, but I don't think it's a big deal.
You okay with that then?
Yeah, so with that caveat, I'll put my
Yeah,
hand in the air.
yeah. Okay,
All right,
yeah.
all in favor? Thank you. All right, we'll move on to bylaw and policy, draft policy amendments to Sunday use policy. Josh can go for it.
Thank you, Council. So, in accordance with your instructions, administration has undertaken a review of this policy. What we found is that there are some kind of underlying decisions that we would like council's feedback on what way you would like to go to craft something in accordance with your desire as far as how Sunday use is to be conducted in town. I think this is a good opportunity to cast a wider net than just the arena, because the natural question is, why is the swimming pool being treated differently? Because that's something that if it hasn't been asked already from the public, it will. And hence, that's question number 3, just on the 3 that we were hoping you could consider for us.
So, one of your remarks inside there, or question, is should we even consider having staff kind of attend those facilities on a Sunday or something like this? I don't have it right on the front of me. But you mentioned more or less in the background for that point that the staff might feel pressured by the organization who are asking to have the Sunday use of the arena. And is that correct? Is that right? Is that something we should support? In my opinion, if any worker feels nudged or forced to do it, it's not right. Because then it's not really voluntary anymore. It's voluntary under pressure, so I call it not voluntary.
Councilor Court?
Do we have any examples of that, being pressured?
Yes, part of the background information was based on interviews with current staff, and they absolutely get that pressure.
At the arena?
Oh, yes, yeah. Because the reality is, as the policy is written, the only thing standing between an event occurring that council has said they're good with, which more and more is pretty much everything, is the staff member being willing to forego whatever other commitments or
Yeah, and that's why.
it puts them in a very awkward position.
Just to continue with that, they usually know quite a ways ahead of time if there's a request for that Sunday. I think our staff just needs to tell them, if they don't want to do it, they don't do it, then they have to make other arrangements, simple as that. Now, of course, they know everybody there, but it's within their rights not to work if they don't want to. So that's the way I would put it anyhow, so.
It's interesting to have this discussion because in general, these kind of staffing matters would be handled by administration, but because this is a council policy, it is right that I explain to you what the staff that are acting according to your direction are going through. And the reality is I've heard from all of them that they would rather be compelled than for it to be left up to them.
Oh, wow.
I was just gonna add, do they feel pressured because the event is leaning on them of happening or not? Or would they
Yeah,
feel,
exactly.
would they feel it's like, this is just part of my job, I'm working this Sunday, rather than, oh man, I don't wanna work, now this minor hockey game's not gonna happen. Is that the pressure they're feeling?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. If it's just, hey, it's Sunday and I gotta go to work, that's a lot easier than I could stay home and maybe my conscience would like me to or my family would like me to, but if I say no, they can't have this playoff game and there's all these families and children and it's all on them.
So yeah, I mean, my opinion is, I don't know how contracts or interviews, when they're hired, I don't know what it says that they're obligated to do. Maybe it's just 40 hours a week regardless, 7 days a week, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's my opinion that if they're not pressured to work on Sunday, the Sunday itself, then I think that rather than making that decision in favor of the game happening or not, I think that I'm in favor of having these events on Sunday, if they're needed, of course, and if they're being paid, if the minor hockey, and they're being funded, however that's being funded, I don't know. As long as that's just part of their work week and it's overtime, and that they know it's part of their schedule and 2 weeks late down the road, not like, I gotta make a decision in 2 days or this game's not happening kind of thing, so.
Right.
Councillor Jensen, Councillor Burton, Councillor Brown.
Well, Councillor Brown was waiting for a long time.
Well, they had
It's all good. It's all good.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. So I had 3 sons that played hockey years ago in the Spud League, and we never ever had games on Sunday. And the Spud League here, we didn't. And the Spud League just knew that Cardston didn't play on Sunday, and so they made their schedules so that we didn't have to play on Sundays. And I really liked that and respected that and liked that they respected our stand on that. I feel like pressuring the employees, I think that one of their thoughts is if I don't work on Sunday and do this, then is my job going to be challenged, because I'm not taking my turn or my shift on it, because I don't want to do this. I don't think we should be pressuring them that. And my other feeling is that I feel like we've given an inch and now it's taking a mile. And so we allowed for 1 game on Sunday was it a tournament or a playoff? And now it's going to be, pretty soon it's going to be every game, regular game, every tournament, every playoff game, everything. So we're taking gave an inch, taking a mile. So is that what we want to do?
Councillor Burton.
So I think you did a really good job on your backgrounder and differentiating, what our different categories are. Just a couple of comments. The recent policy that was passed unanimously by the Ag Society says, in keeping with the town's policy of Sunday use, the facilities may be used by members and the public on Sunday, but the facility will not be staffed by the town or by the society. So it's like a ball diamond. If somebody wants to go play ball on it, they can, but we're not doing shale, we're not opening the bathrooms. Same with here, we're not running the tractor, we're not doing anything like that. And I think that's consistent with what my philosophy is that I don't want to compel people to work on Sunday. And I get it that, you know, there are lots of people who would like to have these events on Sunday. You enclosed the 2014 survey that was done, and I think I learned a few months ago that that may not be accurate.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting any weight in that either way when I make these comments. I'm just going off the top of my own head here, my own thoughts on it. You know, there's a famous treatise written by a French philosopher named Frederick Bastiat. He said, it's called What is Seen and What is Not Seen. And his point is that sometimes when governments make policies or pass legislation, there's an unexpected result. And I confess that I didn't expect that result of people being pressured either by their workmates or by members of the community, or perhaps a perception by management, although you haven't said that. But those are kind of the three areas they could feel some pressure. And I'm uncomfortable with that. So my feeling on it is that we would allow people to use facilities that don't require town employee involvement, and that we don't allow them to if it does require town involvement. I think your question about how do we distinguish the pool, my guess is that it inherently requires staff there for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the answer to why we would distinguish it. So anyway, that's how I draw the line in my mind, is if we have to have staff there, and because of this unexpected, because I was before it before, but if people feel pressured, then I don't want that. And so I would draw back from that, and I would say, well, if it requires our staff, you're not getting them, so you can't have the facility. But if it doesn't, we hope you enjoy it.
Councillor Brown?
So, thank you, councillors. I have reached out to McGrath and Raymond. I have family in both areas. And I thought it was interesting that in Raymond, they have their pool open on Sundays. And they have, of course, their ice arena open on Sundays. And they actually have people from Lethbridge coming and using it because Lethbridge, they can't get enough ice time. I think the key for us is that whatever way we go, we take the heat off the employees. Council deserves to take the heat, not the employees. There shouldn't be any pressure on them. I think the majority of our full-time staff was not hired to be working on Sundays. That's my understanding, at least. Jeff could correct me. Seasonal staff, I'm not sure, like Councillor Kenley, I'm not sure how that works. But whether it's our golf course or our ice arena, or, you know, you can go through all of our rec stuff. I'm kind of leaning more towards, like Councillor Burton. If it's our staff that has to run it, then it shouldn't be. And I think this should be something for the next council to make if they want to change the sports or having town facilities open on Sunday, let them make that. But I think we shouldn't have any heat on our employees. I don't think that's fair.
Mayor?
Yeah, to go back a little bit around the notion of the employee being compelled rather than asked to be a volunteer. There is a lot to unpack there, because if you say they would do it if they're compelled, are you actually saying if they had a true choice, they would rather not?
That's a tough question.
Definitely, I think it's fair to say yes for some. I wouldn't say that, well, what I said was they would rather be compelled than be put in a situation where it's all on them.
Right, but essentially, the way I read it is that they were not really employed to work on Sunday.
Jeff could speak to that better than me.
Councillor Granger, Councillor Court.
I think the intent of the original intent going back, that Sunday should be reserved for going to church, spending time with family, even just a day off for especially the rec staff that go, basically, Monday to Saturday, and it's a nice respite, and I think that we should preserve that. I kind of like Councillor Jensen's analogy of an inch. I was okay with the inch, but that was all. I mean, these people didn't get hired to work on Sunday. We're making an exception that we have done a couple of times because people voluntarily step forward, but I don't think they should be compelled, and they should definitely not be pressured. That's not a good thing. And so I guess I would say my view is reserve Sundays for people and families, not for recreation, definitely not the pool on Sundays. And if there's the odd occasion, the inch, as Councillor Jensen said, we might be able to look at that. I was okay with that, but I'm still liking to keep Sunday for people, not for hockey players.
Councillor Court?
Okay, I've got a grandson that just finished their season up. He was on U13s, and they travel all over the place. My fear is that if they can't play it here, they'll have to go up to Calgary twice or wherever they're going to go twice. Also, some of those hockey players are very talented. And I've talked to workers. I've been up there on Sunday when my grandson's been playing, and I haven't. Of course, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but none of them seem like they're compelled. But you'd know more than I would because you've been talking to them. I'm just wondering. As for the families thing, I get that too. But every time I'm up there, there's 200 people there on a Sunday, so somebody's families are up there watching hockey. So I just want to see a balancing act where we don't take away opportunities for some of these kids, and some of them could go on to higher level hockey, and try and balance it with what our staffing is. I thought it was working before, but apparently it's not, because every time I've been up there, it's the same couple of 3 guys that'll go on a Sunday, and they'll go and do it. And again, they wouldn't complain to me, obviously, but I don't want to just shut the door on Sundays because you're taking away some opportunities for some pretty talented kids, and maybe they'd have to go somewhere else to play hockey. I don't know.
Josh?
I really appreciate that feedback, because that's the other side of this discussion, is that this decision involves trade-offs. And if in fact it is to the benefit of the greater community to have the ice available, as other communities have made that determination, then perhaps that's the way to go. No, I don't like the idea of compelling people either, but I just kind of set that up as the first question to say, leaving it up to the employee's discretion, really from our perspective and what the employees are telling me, is the worst option of the 3. Compel them, or let them off the hook completely would be better, but ultimately up to you.
Councillor Brown had her hand up, but you can finish.
I'm just going to finish. Would it be better if we left this up to administration instead of coming to council every time?
Well, and that's the way, that is an option, to say we are relinquishing council control and political control of this issue. And then we can make the determination in the way that we do.
Councillor Brown?
But is that really what administration wants?
I'm just throwing it out there.
It's my understanding that administration wants it off their shoulders, wants it off the employees, wants council to either be yay or nay, or give a little or not, or they want some sort of decision so that it isn't on the employees. Because if administration is saying, yeah, we'll handle it, I guess I'm misunderstanding here.
It's just an option I was throwing out there.
Yeah, no, but Joshua said the same thing.
Yeah.
So Joshua, is administration seeking that? Comfortable with that?
The only reason we would be comfortable with it is if council is recognizing that it's no longer a political issue to the community. If it's not, then actually it should rightfully be handled by administration, because it has to do with the day-to-day operations of the municipality.
I was just gonna add, my belief again on this is our town has these facilities to use for the citizens and the athletes and I believe anyways, I don't know a lot of the guys personally, but if there's an opportunity for me to get a few hours, 3 or 4 hours of overtime on a Sunday to work the rink, I would maybe like that in my pocket, and maybe there are staff, like, I don't know, this is a conversation the administration should have with our rec staff.
But I think you have had it, haven't?
Well,
That's what I understood.
they don't, okay, then we have to decide we know the difference between compel and pressured. It seems like they're willing to do it, they just want to be told to do it. That's kind of,
That's what they'd rather.
Can I just
Jeff?
mention something? Do you mind if I
Yeah.
mention something? Just so you can hear. Staff are gonna change over and staff are gonna be different over time. The question we're asking council too, is this a political issue or not? Is this a sensitive political issue in the community? And if it is, you're the politicians. We're not. It would be inappropriate for us to be operating contrary to the political will of
Exactly.
council on this item. And so staff are gonna change, and they may have different preferences, but we're just seeking that position of.
I was just gonna add that we're probably not gonna get another what's the word? A request before the next council, most likely. I think hockey's done.
Yeah, I think 1 week left, yeah.
I don't think we're getting another
For sure.
request, so we'll probably leave it to the next council to decide, but Mayor?
All right, so in our packet, there were the result of past plebiscites. I was thinking, if you have new elections, and if you really want to gauge what the appetite in town is regarding the use of recreation facility on a Sunday, it'll be a perfect time to ask that question.
Yeah.
And at least it would give the next council a fair direction of what the the town appetite is regarding that issue. And then we as councillor or next council will have to represent that position. And I think they would be elected to represent the position of the people. And I think that would be a fair way to look at it, because at a municipal election, at least you have a fair representation of the will of the people. It's probably the best time to have that representation. And it does not bind council. Council can go contrary to the result, but at least it will have a base to make that decision on.
My only rebuttal to that, Mayor, is the ones that are casting that vote, no, are the ones that have nothing to do with, like, they're churchgoers, they're faith, and that's just a tough plebiscite question, right? Like,
But I hope that all who vote are not just church-going people. I hope there is a larger representation of the people who vote, and I think it will be a good thing for all the people who can vote to vote, and that they're right, and they should exercise it.
okay, guys, do we just, Councilor Brown?
No, I would just add, I think it is incredibly important to hear out the people. I think this would be a big topic, like alcohol was, in regards to
Yes.
whether they're interested and whether you're church going, non-church going, whatever it is your thing is, I think you would vote. You would want to be heard. That would be my hope. Just like we did for alcohol, we wanted to know what a plebiscite, what the people would want, put it in their hands, and we heard from them. I think it's similar. If we put, I think it's a great idea, Mayor.
Yep.
And what I heard is you're running again, actually. You said join We Will. That's interesting.
Well, you know what?
Lifer.
Dispel that story.
All right, guys, are we okay just to leave this then? Or are we
Yes.
just leave it for the next council and hope we don't get another request in the next 2 weeks?
Well,
So I'd be comfortable voting on it now, but I'm also okay if we leave it. But I think, yeah, that now 11-year-old information isn't that helpful.
no.
But I think it does indicate that it's a political issue, so I'm not concerned at all about me taking the vote on it, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to push it on to admin, I don't want to push it on to the next council, so I'm good either way.
Need anything else from us, Josh, on that?
Thank
You got enough info?
You can prepare a good question for the next election.
Yeah. All right, bylaw and policy, 5B, fire service level policy. Jeff?
Yeah, council, I have two items that we don't have to come to any conclusion on tonight. I just wanted to get them introduced. This is all part of trying to support the change to the agreement with the county for fire services. And by the way, if you looked at this policy a few days ago, this morning I had some time with it and I tweaked a few little things and re-uploaded it. So I would expect there might be some things there, but essentially, this is something we should have irrespective of our agreement on fire service. So it's an interesting thing that in Alberta, you are not required to provide fire services as a community. You can choose not to. Your residence insurance companies won't like that at all, but you can still make that decision. It is the absolute, almost exclusive practice that communities provide fire services, and I'm suggesting we should continue to do so. But one of the things that's important to have is what's called a fire level of service policy. And what it's outlining is, here's the level of service as a community we've determined is appropriate. And this can serve a number of functions. One is in our case where we'll be essentially contracting with the county to provide the service. It's clear what we're asking for. The second thing is if there was an incident that was very unusual and maybe on a scale that we didn't think about, and people said, well, the town should be responsible for that, and we can point and say, we've never considered that as a level of service we were going to provide. That's not something we ever anticipated doing. So in our case, as we're trying to look at the governance of the fire department, I'm looking at this in the first context of, to the county, what are we asking you to provide? Now this draft is essentially status quo. It's what we've been doing. It's almost identical to what the county's policy would be. And I also want to be clear, this isn't if you don't make your amendments now, you never get the chance. You can amend this monthly as things come up. It's fine. It's a policy that council can always amend. So I was just seeing if there was any early feedback on, we need to make sure we're covering this, or we need to make sure that we're getting this service. And I feel this is the kind of document that we're going to get into this relationship 6 months and find maybe we should look at it a little closer. And I certainly don't want it to be inferior in any way. So just seeking some input there.
Mayor?
I'm just wondering, Jeff, I'm not sure that I saw it anywhere. It talks about a lot of transfer assets and all that stuff, but for example, inspections of buildings. I haven't seen it in there, or am I wrong?
Yeah, so under prevention and inspection, it currently reads that there would be enforcement of the Alberta Fire Code and inspection of all public buildings as per the Alberta Safety Codes Act and local authorities' quality management plan.
Yeah,
for fire.
so I understood the public building,
Yeah.
but businesses
Yeah.
and home, properties.
Yeah.
I remember when we lived in Delta, we had inspection done of our property for stuff that was around the house that maybe shouldn't be there because it was a fire hazard.
Yep. So that point is an excellent one in this because, well, we've had this discussion before. We need to have some determination on the level of that service because it is something that will probably be more than what we've done historically and may have an associated cost along with it to
Right.
train and staff and do that service. I don't think it will be a lot, but yeah, there needs to be some discussion over what level of inspection are we looking for, because if it's to say that every commercial building gets inspected annually, that's on a scale that would be major human resources, or if it's a certain percentage every year, that might be manageable.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking, what about if we were putting an upper limit of what we would appreciate seeing done in the business community or at the town private property. I mean, I don't know what it looked like. I don't know what the cost is. All that would need to kind of be factored in so that we can make a rational decision.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, on that, Mayor, if you would be comfortable with this, or the rest of you too, Murray and I are going to be meeting with Mr. Melvin, the fire chief, as well on this whole agreement. There's probably a number that he would be comfortable with, given the current staffing capacities, that we could at least
Right.
start with and
Yeah.
say, is that sufficient or is
Yeah.
it not sufficient?
Yeah,
So
and
I can get that for you.
I would be comfortable seeing that included in this
Yep.
draft.
Yep.
Counselor Burton, Counselor Brown, Counselor Granger.
So I agree with the mayor. I think the public would expect a certain level of inspection on what I'll call businesses, but used the word home one time, and I don't think on our homes, but on our businesses that are open to the public. In other words, at any given moment, there could be 120 people in Extra Foods or No Frills or whatever, that kind of thing. So I think that's a good idea. The question I have is, and I'm not trying to take away Councillor Granger's question, but in that agreement, is there anything that reciprocally comes back that we have the obligation, say, to provide a certain number of fire hydrants or certain water pressures or capacities or anything like that? Because if we create something that then comes back and says, okay, you know, for us to allow them to provide the service, we have to provide this infrastructure. We just wouldn't want to be surprised by that. Not to say that we shouldn't do that, just we'd want to know what that was from a budget and time, you know, money and time budget point of view.
So, if I might, short answer, no, and it's not to say there couldn't be. So this is really just focused on what is the level of service we're expecting to receive. My hope would be that the governance structure of the new organization, both the political and the administrative one, would identify, you know, a lot of that and make sure we were okay. So I hadn't thought about this with a reciprocal component. It's something I will definitely look at and get my head around.
Counselor Brown,
Jeff already answered my question. Thank you.
Counselor Granger.
Yeah, the mayor beat me to that question on the fire inspections, but I just wanted to add that the day after I went on to the Emergency Services Committee, this whole issue of fire inspections or lack thereof has really bothered me, because I've never lived in a community where it just simply isn't done. And I asked questions 3 years ago, why not? The answer I got was lack of training, lack of personnel resources, and lack of budgetary funding to do it. And that kind of surprised me, but it really hasn't improved a whole heck of a lot. We've been doing some on the institutional buildings by request, especially from the on the schools and their insurance people. But you know, we haven't really put a lot of thought into a plan, and I think that's lacking, and we need to do that. So I was encouraged to see this specifically there, but we need to do more work in this area for sure moving forward.
Noted, thank you.
Anything else on this, councillors?
That's good. Thank you.
So I'll meet with Mr. Millward and Melvin, and again, we're kind of starting off with what does status quo look like that we've been doing, and then we have this opportunity through the governance structures of the proposed, both there's an administrative piece and a council piece, and we can massage that and get it where it needs to go. I agree with all of Councillor Granger's comments. We just need to be planning for that capacity a little better, and it tends to get pushed down with the requisition, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Right, and we need to do a little better job with that.
But
Yep.
I really want to say, this draft is quite comprehensive, so thank you for that document. It's a good place to start
Yep.
and to enhance. So thank you very much for the work you did with the county. It's great.
I think paragraph 4.2, it says that you'll pay 0 cents to both the county and the town, or whoever that goes. Look about 4.2 somewhere, it says,
You're probably talking about the asset transfer next?
yeah,
Yeah.
it should say $1, and it just says 0 cents.
Oh, okay, we're trying to keep it cheap.
You would have saved us,
Counselor?
you would have saved $2.
$4,
know.
true.
Fair
It's
enough.
true. It's
Moving on
always
to
less than
$6A,
$4.
draft asset transfer agreement. Jeff?
So related to the same, this is another accompanying document. I think Councillor Burton brought this up last meeting about if we're going to go to this new governance for the fire department, how do we properly book and transfer assets that we've paid, you know, half, roughly, we'll say half for up to this point, that are gonna go to a different entity? And so one of the things when Murray and I were meeting is, and I put this in the background, or when they formed the Water Commission in McGrath, the town of McGrath effectively transferred a whole bunch of assets into the commission. And so we took that, and I apologize, this was my most recent draft, but it has my little comments along the side that Murray and I were going back and forth. So they weren't really intended for you. I wasn't worried about any of them, but they were for Murray and I, and I just wanted some feedback on your thoughts, aside from the $2 versus $0, Councillor Burton, I got that. If there's any other concerns about this type of arrangement, or anything that really stood out that we should address before I bring you a more formal version back. Again, this is not ready for adoption at all.
I'm sure you've done this, but like for normal entities, when you're transferring assets that have some value for a buck, there are tax consequences to that? I don't think there are with our,
No.
okay, but, you know, just a once by an accountant is,
Yeah, sure, okay, okay.
we just don't want to create a, oh, we didn't know that or whatever,
Yeah.
but they could probably tell us in 5
Yeah,
minutes.
okay, fair enough.
Anything else, councillors? Councillor Granger?
Yeah, Jeff, the one thing that's kind of bothering me is the fire hall itself. I mean, I get, and I'm on the emergency services, and I've been involved in all of this every step of the way, but, and I understand that, you know, the fire trucks, the vehicles, the boots, the helmets, all that, the hoses, all that stuff is going to go where it should, to the county. But I think, to me, there's an issue with the building. And I sort of 50-50 on this. I mean, I know we had the building, we built it, we paid for it, but why wouldn't we give that over as well?
Okay.
I'm a little confused
Nope.
as to why we would want to hang on to that one asset.
Sure, fair question, Councillor. There was two things that guided us, I'm talking Murray and I, and his council hasn't seen this yet either, but two things that we were thinking when we intentionally omitted it, at least in theory. One was, so the town currently has existing agreements with Alberta Health for the lease of the ambulance space. And just for the simplicity of keeping those consistent, we felt that we had negotiated with them, we have that relationship, we have the contract for renewal, so for not having to renegotiate that at this point, we thought that was a benefit. Secondly was that the intent, and being that you asked the question, Councillor, I know I need to make this clearer in the agreement, maybe not in this one, but in the main agreement. The intent is that anything to do with the building, capital or repair, would be included in the annual requisition and shared amongst the municipalities.
Okay.
That's
So,
good.
yeah.
That's part of why I'm asking the question.
Yep, of course, of course.
But I mean, to me, the ambulance contract should be able to be easily transferred over to the
Good.
county.
Mhm.
And so I don't see any compelling reason to hang on to the building other than emotional.
Yeah, trust me, it's not because I feel sentimental about the building, I can assure you of that. But I'll have that discussion with Murray and see if there's any strong feelings that he can see from the county side. And then I'll bring you back better information on that, Councillor. It's a good question.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other buildings on that title, or is it just the one
No.
building?
Just the one, yeah.
So in theory, we could.
Yeah, there's nothing else we use for a different purpose on that property. Yeah, yep.
All right, moving on. Do you want to do the strategic plan first before the council?
Really, for that one, if there's any questions on anything,
Does anyone have any questions about
Yeah,
the strategic
that's-
plan?
I hadn't given you an
Perhaps
update in a while, I
updates.
apologize.
Anybody?
Thank you.
Good. All right, we'll move on to the council page, website.
Yeah,
Who wants to take that one?
I got it.
Jeff?
So I just wanted to show you something, and I'm cognizant of time here as well. I'm not cognizant of getting my screen to share. There we go.
15 minutes left, right?
Yeah.
You're doing great.
I just
I
want to
show
get,
11.
I want to get some,
And
just some early feedback on something here. We were looking at ways, we know that OneDrive has been a bit of a challenge, especially with their periodic updates and whatnot.
Oh,
So I just want to get some feedback on looking at this a little bit differently, and if this will share.
I know
we'll
Jeff
be
had
in
showed me
business.
this, and honestly, it's quite nice. It's,
So what we're looking at is just creating a website. This is just actually, it's cardston.ca/council. That's it. you would have it's passworded, so you would have a password in it that once we put it in once, it'll save on the site, and that's fine. So when you open it, you would essentially have a resource center as counselors, and we have not populated this fully by any means. But one of the tabs would be council meetings. So I'll use this meeting as an example. You would come here, and here would be your council packages. And what you would look at on your screen is, here's your agenda. So here, this is today's agenda, here's everything, and then right below it is all of the items. So I want to look at what the strategic plan update is. So I just click on that tab, it opens in another tab, great, I'm done with it.
That's easy.
I close it, takes me it takes me right back to the agenda. Next item, click, opens, close it. And everything's right there. And what it does for us, we see this on the other side. I will not point any fingers, I promise, but some of you like to copy and paste or move it over or change a folder, and then no one can find it, and then I'm scrambling to get one in there. Again, no fingers pointed, I promise. So this will make sure, and again, your next meeting is just below it. There's February 25th with all the information down below, and so on. And so we can have all of your meetings here, and that's one of the options. The next thing it will have, and again, we've just plunked some things here, is like there's a counselor resources tab. So here's a bunch of your governing legislation, your deputy mayor assignments, your committee lists. They're all on the site.
Burton?
I was looking at my policy manual that I got 3.5 years ago.
Sure.
And I thought, how many policies
Yeah.
we've changed since I got the manual?
Many.
Right.
And I thought, I don't even dare look at it because I don't know what I'm looking at, right? So,
It's fair.
yeah, if we had things like the current policies
Yeah.
up here, that'd be very
Yeah.
helpful for us too.
So we have one called council orientation, which is everything that would be included. So roles and responsibilities, the CAO covenant, the key municipal plans. I'll just open this up, for example. Your land use bylaw, the municipal development plan, area structure plans, all your policies, Counselor, that you were talking about.
That's great.
We can have them all here. And then there are always the updated version. And you can't, and don't take this the wrong way, but you can't wreck anything, right? So,
We like that.
and you know what I mean when I say that. I mean that very kindly, but it's always there for you, it's always updated, and it's just behind a passworded webpage.
And only we get to see this, right? This is just for us?
Correct, Counselor. Yeah, the public can't access it.
Counselor Jensen?
You answered it. I just wondered if the public had access to that, but they don't.
No, you've got all
Password.
your confidential items in all those agenda packages, so we have to keep it that way. So,
I like that.
okay, if
Yeah.
there's any immediate feedback, or if you want to email me over times about, hey, it'd be great if this was in there, or, you know, I was thinking about this, I'm always looking for, that kind of thing.
Like, do
We
you-
can make it as comprehensive as we need to, so.
Does it have access to the taped council meetings?
Actually, I think Shem I just read something today, he was working on it.
Okay, so
Right
that's
here,
gonna
yeah,
go in
so
there.
it says, to see more council meeting info and meeting recordings, please click this link.
Yeah, great, thank you.
And then you can go to the
A
recordings.
calendar of our upcoming meetings, because sometimes we cancel some and
Nice, nice.
You know,
Building it as we're going, right?
I can never remember which we are or aren't.
Did you have the budget
calendar.
included in there?
So there, sorry, I'm sharing my, oh, it's not flipping through, good. I was moving screens here. In the, I might be in the resources page, sorry. Nope, it's in this one. We have budgeting and financial administration. We just don't have anything in there yet. But the
Okay.
intent is that all your previous
Yeah,
budgets and
right.
audit reports and everything can be in there if you have any questions on it, yeah.
Anything else, guys, on this?
So is there fairly kind of head nods, thumbs up?
I like that
Yeah.
better than
Go
this.
for
then-
it, do it.
Love it.
Okay, cool.
The strategic plan is part of the key municipal plans?
Been thinking about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was in there.
Totally, I'm not.
I just need to go through, again, we're just throwing some
just
stuff
get
at it,
info.
Counts, or Mayor, but it's not in here now, but absolutely can be, yeah.
Yeah,
for
maybe
sure.
it should be there.
Yep. Okay,
Okay.
we'll continue to develop this and have it ready soon.
Awesome. On to correspondence. Honorable Rick McIver with a wonderful email letter to us.
This is gonna-
And from Ethan Bain about the unfortunate raise in education tax.
12.5% increase in the education tax, Council.
12.5%.
So just just be aware of that. I talked to some of my colleagues down the highway here, and they're at about 13-14% as well. I sat in on, oh, sorry, Councillor, can I
You
speak just a little
certainly
bit?
talk,
Sorry.
yes. I'm here.
Minister McIver held a town hall for CAOs about the budget on Friday. And so we were on there, and, you know, a lot of questions about what's the messaging to our community? How do we frame this? You know, you've put us in a tough spot when we're trying to hold the line on municipal. And there's a part of me that I find some of Rick's Minister McIver's banter refreshing. But in this case, he was like, well, you're only collecting 33% of it on our behalf. Do you want to make it 100? And I was like, well, that's maybe not the messaging we're going to share. But I get it. I get where he's coming from, but again, not to go down this rabbit hole. This is probably not the right method for collecting it.
No.
That's the challenge, but that's a bigger issue for another day.
Yeah. We need to be thankful that there is equalized funding across the province. Otherwise, small communities like ours get left
Right.
out in the dark.
The cities do bear the lion's share of the 33%. They really do, based on assessment. So I appreciate that. That's a good perspective, Councillor. It's just, it's tough when you're gonna try and hold to 2% or 1%, and then, oh, by the way, your education's 12.5. It's just a tough pill to swallow.
And we've talked about this before, but when we do send out our notice of
Yeah.
assessment,
Yeah.
we can be fairly educational in that and say, look, here's where
Here's
this
why.
amount came from, and
Here's why.
here's the phone number to call, right? That kind of thing.
Well,
Tell 'em where
I
Joe
thi-
lives,
I
too,
think
is right
in an-
now.
Because people don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, MLA, and I don't mean to throw them under the bus. This is an issue
But
for your MLA.
that's the fact,
That's where it should go.
because we can't change it, so
Yeah.
why call us?
Okay, that concludes our public portion of the meeting. And do we need to have a break at all, or?
Do you want to take?
Questions, is there time for questions? I have one if you know
Yeah.
what the answer.
Go for it.
The last budget threw another $2 million at us for the hospital. Do we know what's going on with that at all?
Oh, I actually hadn't heard that, Councillor.
Yeah.
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 I talked to Patty yesterday. She said she'd talk to Joe and get back to us, but
Oh,
you were the one that told me they threw another $2 million on it, right?
Yeah, we got an email about it at the hospital even, and it's just, I guess they did get the business plan done
Yeah.
last year.
yeah. we
And
need
this is
that.
just another, I don't know if they're kicking it down the road
Well, that's.
or whatever it is, but they did throw,
is what I
they
said.
haven't forgotten about it. There's another $2 million
well,
towards the hospital
would have been nice.
plan
for
or
council to
anything,
see
whatever it
business
is. I don't know.
I don't know
So that's $4 million they've thrown at us in the last 2 years.
They're just to,
What, 2 million? Like, what do you mean it's thrown at us? Was that?
not to us, the government is
Looking into
funding
the hospital.
the new for the new hospital potential
So they put 2 million towards that end.
towards.
Another study of some
Another
sort,
two for whatever.
another
So they haven't forgotten about it.
analysis or
They
whatever.
got budgeted again.
Okay.
I know they just finished, or they're working on another hospital. It was the oldest one in Alberta, and I think ours is next. But they're
That's what Patty told us, that we're next on the list. I talked to her
currently, it's
yesterday.
up in,
Barhead or
that's the waste plant.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Old,
That's
not Olds, it's,
Barhead.
so anyways,
Beaver Lodge.
that one's
the
getting
Sano.
going, so don't be surprised if it's sooner than later, so.
Well,
anyways.
supposedly we're
It'd
next.
be nice if we were receiving update
Well,
Yeah,
here.
I mean, that could be,
Rather than
maybe
just-
Cheryl maybe knows more.
Okay.
You could reach
Cheryl's
out to
on my
her.
list of people to visit anyway, so I'll see what I can see.
Awesome. Anything else, guys?
Thank
Okay.
you.
You want to do a quick recess before we go in closed session? We've got a couple
Want to do
minutes.
like 5 minutes? or-
Okay, let's take a 5-minute
Okay.
recess.
All in favor?
I'll
Thank
just
you.
let these guys in and I'll just tell them that we're just having a quick.
Thanks, Murray.
recess and-
Don't write anything bad about me.
Yeah, something
With flying colors.
Good for you.
Can we, just get a motion to reconvene, Mayor?
Make a motion to reconvene?
Oh, put Counselor Brown. Thank you, all in favor? Thank you, can I, motion to go into closed session. Mayor? Made that motion? All in
I make a motion to come out of closed session.
All in favor?
Aye.
One more motion?
Make a
Counselor
motion to
Jensen?
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, Counselor, you did awesome.
First and only, we're done.